What we're going to talk about is poison. We have an environment that we live in that is basically contaminated or polluted, as the mild terms for the word poison are concerned. We have poison in the water, which we call purifiers and cleansers and bleaching agents and fluoride and all that. But the water is basically poison in most of the major cities in the United States, according to the United Nations. They examined the water in the 20 major cities here. So we have polluted water, which is, as I mentioned, a mild term for poison water that is consumed by us. It's usually been used 2 or 3 times before you drink it, and recycled again, and you drink it again. And what they do is basically raise the standards for poison water. As the term is called, polluted. They raise the standard for polluted water so that the water that is very, very bad can pass, because they raise the standard so low. They make it so low that polluted water can just be qualified as good. And so we are drinking polluted water, which causes a very harmful effect in the body because it stops the body from absorbing oxygen. To understand the scope of poison, I think it's necessary to understand this business of the biochemistry of the African's body, which is melanin-based. Melanin is basically centered around a sulfur. You have a methionine. These are amino acids, by the way. You have these amino acids that are pulled together by a sulfur, which form melanin. Now, melanin is sort of like, let's say, aspartame. I think you're all familiar with aspartame, or what you call NutraSweet. Aspartame and phenylalanine are pulled together by a alcohol, and this is a alliance, a coupling, or bringing together substances that are not naturally in order. So they are unnatural, so they cause unnatural things to occur in your body. Now, the way melanin is made is natural, and anything that's not made in that kind of formula will irritate the melanin because it's unnatural. The reason why melanin is so important is because melanin acts first to defend the body. It carries out bacteria through the skin. So it's the first line of defense in a highly melanated person, such as African people. That's why you find this melanated aura of face, or the darkening of the face of a pregnant woman. That's melanation that occurs on weaker organ systems, or organs that need that kind of energy. And you find melanation, a dark line running down the center of the body in a pregnant woman, running down to the navel. That's melanin clustering at the generative organs to defend it, because melanin comes in defense to take out the pollutions. So anything that pollutes the body causes melanin to rush to defend it, and that drains your supply of melanin, throws the melanin off balance. In a natural dietary environment where you're getting holistic food that's unpolluted, the melanin is going towards positive things, help generate your system. Whereas in a polluted environment, the melanin is always being drained to defend your body against pollution. And therefore, you never get to use the melanin for its proper positive purpose, which makes you unable to defend yourself holistically, and as mentally, physically, and spiritually. Now, in this polluted environment, we have the water. And we have polluted air, which is called polluted, as again, the term polluted is just a nice way of saying the air is poisoned. The air is poisoned by carbon dioxide and hydrocarbons and various wastes from factories and from cars, arsenic that comes from the brakes. And all this goes to poison the air. So we have poison air and poison water. Then the food is poisoned by herbicides and pesticides. The herbicides are brought in to stimulate the growth of the plants, and they also stop the plants from making nitrogen-fixing kind of things, which produces the trace minerals that we call cadmium and copper, the other trace minerals in the body. Besides the calcium, magnesium, and phosphorus, that we call the other minerals trace minerals, like copper. So the nitrogen-fixing element of the plant is stopped, so you don't get the full range of nutrients from the plant because of the artificial or polluted substances they call fertilizers that are put in the plant by the farming industry. So we have polluted plants. So we have the polluted air, the polluted water, and the polluted plants, and to add to that we have the pesticides, which cause the animals to stay away from the plants. And these pesticides are sprayed on the plants, and they are also consumed when you eat. So you're getting polluted food and polluted water and polluted air. And added to that, there's pollution that's done, or poisoning that's done to the meat. The meat is given arsenic, a higher level of hormones, in order to speed up the growth of the meat, to get it to the factory, to get it to your plate. So the meat is basically polluted when you get it, but they call these things additives, hormone injection, arsenic injections to stop the animal from having worms. All of these things are consumed by the consumer in the process of eating. So you're polluting your bodies in this environment. This is not natural. This only occurs in the European environment, environment based on business. The business of America is business, as was said by Thomas Jefferson. So the pollution and poison that's done to the food is of no consequence. The only thing that matters is the ability to make capital, to make profit. Business is business, as they say. Now there are some things that you can do to defend your body against the pollution. All is not lost. So we have ways to combat pollution. We can go with supplements such as vitamin A and a good form of beta-carotene, which is more digestible in your system, and you can take a higher amount, whereas you're taking a large amount of vitamin A, oil-soluble vitamin A, it can become toxic, and you can have black stools and a rash and itching in the skin. But if you take it in the beta-carotene form, it acts to protect your body much, much more. So we can take vitamin A in the beta-carotene form. We can take a B complex, vitamin C crystals, vitamin C liquid, oil-soluble vitamin C, which comes from the palm plants in Africa. You have to remember that many of the slaves came over on the slave ships were deprived of vitamin C, so the cornea of their eyes would dry up, and many of them were brought here blind. Because they had a system of giving the slaves only enough food for them to survive the trip over from Africa to America. So many of them were brought over here starved and blind, and they would take them to fatting houses and fatten them up for the auction block. So we have vitamin C that's very valuable in protecting your body. We have vitamin A, which can be used to defend your system. You have the flavonoids, which are parts of the vitamin C family, and you can buy those separately. There are other nutrients such as amino acids like lysine, which helps to regulate the pineal gland. Then you have phenylalanine, which is another amino acid which helps produce the pigment, which you call melanin. And you have glutathione, which is 3 amino acids together, which helps get rid of what they call free radicals. Those are pollutants or poisons in the system. Anything that's not attached or married in the body is irritant to the body, because everything comes in pairs, complementary pairs. But in European medicine and herbology, you call them antagonistics. Things that work together, they say they are antagonistic or opposed to each other, pull each other. They call this movement of the arm antagonistic motion. This muscle pulls the arm up, and this muscle pulls it down. So these are antagonistic in European anatomy instead of complementary muscles. So you have antagonistics in the body. Those are things that work together. And those things that work together are meant to stay together, but in the process of making poisons, you take them apart and they become what they call free radicals. And these free radicals irritate the system until they are married with some substance and taken out of the body. And what marries them together is the thing called melanin. It bonds with them and pulls them out of the system. That's why Africans and African Americans get highly more addicted to substance than Europeans, because the melanin goes and bonds to the substance and bonds the addiction in the system harder, you see. So the thing is, we need to be much more aware that the melanin is a first line of defense, and we must stimulate the melanin production. That's why I'm saying the lysine and the phenylalanine are very important. The glutathione, which is another amino acid, and histidine, which relaxes the muscles, and 2,000 milligrams on empty stomach or in between meals. That's a preferable way to take the amino acids, because if you take them with other proteins, they tend to bond with them or inhibit the action. So you take them in between meals and on an empty stomach, and that way that you get the full usage out of the amino acids to help get rid of the poisons in the body. The only problem with histidine, it may cause an erection in men, so it's best to take that earlier during the day than late at night, because it may cause some problems later on in the evening. You can use also for poisonings the blood purifying herbs such as portiaco. There's red clover. There's a herb called chaparral. There's also a herb called, well, I just want to get kind of simple. I will get more involved in the herbs and tell you how they work. But I just want you to know that there's 3 basic herbs you can take, and that's portiaco, chaparral, and golden seal. However, chaparral has been made illegal by the Europeans, so it's not on the market, just as there's another amino acid which directly stimulates melanin production called tryptophan, which has been made illegal by the Europeans and taken off the market. So we can use those herbs along with garlic, which is a nice herb, has an antibiotic action in the body. It is sometimes called antibiotic by the Europeans, but all the herbs do is stimulate antibiotic activity within the system. Those are herbs that can be used for chemical kind of poisons in the body. Then you have poisons that are food poison related. Food poison is usually highest in the summertime with creamy foods, milk and meat that's left out, exposed, which causes to putrefy faster and collect Staphylococcus bacteria and Streptococcus bacteria. The bacteria has names based on the shape, and the shape is based on the superstitious mythology coming out of Europe about certain shapes being negative and certain shapes being positive based on the shape of Africa. It's some kind of superstitious belief about the shape of certain continents and certain foods that one shouldn't imitate. But that comes out of European superstitions. So the shape of the bacteria gets these names, and you want to avoid certain shapes. Most things that are very highly curly has a negative connotation in European medicine. Staphylococcus and all these different names of bacteria based on the curliness of it. And the only thing that's very curly, as we know, is African hair, which is kinky. And that's what the Europeans imitate when they get their limp hair, which lays down flat on their body. They try to get it kinky, and they call it waves or curling it. They try and imitate the curliness of your hair, but when you go into African and European science, the curly things have the negative name, Streptococcus bacteria and all that sort of thing. So the shapes have a negative name coming out of their superstition. It may seem rather silly, but it's very important when you get into European mythology and superstitions. Then you have the poison that comes from protein. Protein causes the system to be toxic, especially in African people, because proteins are recycled in the body. I think the Europeans may metabolize completely 12 proteins, where Africans do about 22. So we metabolize more proteins. But when you have an overabundance of proteins in your body, from your diet, it clogs down the blood. The blood becomes suppurated with this thick mucus kind of slime, which is a nice name for liquid manure that floats in the blood, and they call this liquid manure mucus. And you have degrees and stages of manure. 1 degree is called mucus, 1 degree is called pus, 1 degree is called this and that. All these things come in a degree, and when you get to the highest degree of it, you call it manure. But the whole tribe is called manure. A rose by any other name is still a rose. So we have this liquid manure floating in the body that inhibits the action of the melanin. So you have a melanin deficient diet based on an anti-melanin diet, which is a European-based diet, which you call a junk food diet. So it fills the body up with this mucus and stops the recycling of the protein and stops the recycling of the calcium. You need the calcium to stimulate your energy. You need the magnesium to slow down the energy. So they work together, as the Europeans call them, antagonistic, but they are complementary pairs. And when you get the blood too thick with this liquid manure, which you call mucus, it stops the recycling of nutrients, which is the main ability of melanin. It's the ability to convert and recycle. So you become melanin deficient, which means your immune system is weak. All of this comes from the action of having something together that doesn't belong together, which is what poisons do. It bonds substances together that don't belong together, and they irritate the system. And they call this irritation by free radicals. because in European science and mythology, they believe that something is free is radical. Anything that's radical is going to disturb the system. So these free substances are called free radicals, based again on their mythology and superstitions. So we can protect our bodies with vitamin A, with vitamin B, with phenylalanine, with lysine, with glutathione, with vitamin C and vitamin B, the B complex. The way to boost up the strength of vitamin C to help purge your body of this mucus content and the poisons is to, for example, you can have raw lemon juice or raw orange juice. You take that and mix in with it liquid vitamin C or vitamin C crystals, or take vitamin C with it, or buffered vitamin C. That's vitamin C without the acid in it, and it makes the vitamin C that you do take 3 to 4 times the strength. In other words, if you take 500 milligrams of vitamin C, if you take it with raw lemon juice, it becomes up to 3,000 milligrams of vitamin C because it boosts the action. They call that synergistic, working in a symphony, synthesize. In any case, we can do the vitamin C, the vitamin D, which melanated skin converts in the first place, which stabilizes the calcium. We can do vitamin D. We can do vitamin E, which is simply known as a fertility supplement in European medicine. They mostly take it for its fertility ability, the ability to help them reproduce. But vitamin E is known as a vitamin that helps hold oxygen in your body. The secret to health is to hold the oxygen. Liquid chlorophyll does that. It helps hold the oxygen. When a cell loses about 60% of its oxygen content, it becomes cancerous, no matter where it is in the body. So we have these cancerous cells which are basically oxygen deficient. So to raise the oxygen content of the cell, you take vitamin E. And with the oxygen content of the cell raised, your defense are much higher. And liquid chlorophyll can do that too because it has a conversion reaction. Conversions are very important in the defense of the body and in health in general. Conversions are what the body does naturally. Anything that's not converted in the body is usually a drug or a poison. Alcohol is not converted, it goes directly in the system. When you look at an image, the image is upside down, and the mind converts it right side up. It's a conversion reaction, you see. When you hear in waves, but the body converts it through the eardrums into a chemical, and that chemical is what you hear. You don't hear waves, you hear chemicals. So everything is converted in the body, and anything that is not converted is technically a poison. And that's where this poisonous thing comes into play. That's why you have drugs. Drugs are poisons. They work on a poisoning vehicle because they are not converted in the system. Conversions are very important. Everything has to be converted. When you eat an orange, it tastes acidic to the tongue, but it's converted into an alkaline in your system. So oranges are not acidic, they're alkaline because they're converted. Nothing stays the same. If something stays the same, it is causing a pollution in your system. Alcohol goes right in your body. Opium goes right in your body. It's not converted. Crack goes right into your body. It is not converted. And the law is everything has to be converted. And anything that breaks that law is classified as a drug or as a poison. So what we're trying to do is push these radicals or poisons out of the body with a holistic diet. Taking into effect that you have things like worms and parasites that float in the blood at all times. Now the blood in itself doesn't carry any toxins. The blood is simply red blood cells. But mixed into these red blood cells is this liquid manure, which you call mucus. And the mucus is a nice fertile bed for worms. They love this manure, and they feed off of it. So they are floating around in your body, taking about a pint of blood from you a day. The population of China is feeding about 400 million people in proportion to the worm population. It takes that many people being fed by the worms, by the nutrients they absorb. So the majority of the people on a so-called polluted diet, which we mentioned before, the herbicides and pesticides, are having a continuous stream of floating manure and a worm population they're feeding. Therefore, they have to consume more food. So you see, the whole business of food is a business. The more you eat, the more you have to eat, because you're not only feeding the worms, you're also feeding the pollutants that stay in your system, causing headaches, nervous irritation, which causes you to take aspirin, bufferin, Excedrin, Tylenol, all that. So the whole diet is based on keeping the pollution in your system. But once the pollution is out of your system, then you're free. Then you cannot be controlled anymore. That is how addiction works. Addiction works by putting your body in an ill state. Putting you in a nutritionally deprived state is how addiction works. As long as you're nutritionally deprived, you're addicted. There's no other way for it to work. Alcohol, for example, is a poison, so it drains your body of zinc. So we know you need zinc to defend your system. You would need 500 milligrams of zinc. But when you're taking liquid zinc, which is when it's in its most highly metabolized state, you probably would need about a shot glass of zinc. And that zinc will stabilize your appetite. It would also get rid of the worms, you see. So when you're in control of your body holistically, you're not addicted. But to keep you addicted is to keep you in control. And to keep you in control is to keep you poisoned. So it's a vicious kind of cycle, you see. As I mentioned before, when you're taking alcohol, you're stripping your body of zinc, potassium, phosphorus, iron, vitamin C, vitamin D. So you're in a malnutrition state. And in a malnutrition state, your body hungers for these nutrients and is always being driven. And the first thing that reacts to any sort of malnutrition state is the mind. That's the first thing that reacts. A person can look healthy and look in optimum shape, but you can tell by the way they talk and the way they react that they're tired, because the first thing that reacts to malnutrition is the mind. The whole thing about poison and the control of someone who's about the business of control is to manipulate. So to have you poisoned is to have you under control. This is very important, to look at this system of what you call air pollution, water pollution, food pollution, in the hands of who is controlling it and for whose benefit it is for. It is for someone's benefit because someone is making money making the poisons, and someone is making money selling you something to defend your body against the poison. So you're in like a seesaw economic trap. You stop taking the poison, you have to take something to get it out your system, and when you don't take something to get it out your system, you start taking the poison. There's no medium, no middle point between it. And that's what it's relying on. Addiction doesn't work on a middle point. A middle point is called balance. And it doesn't work on balance. It works on an imbalance. Poisons work on imbalance. They create an imbalance in your system, which makes you addicted, which makes you controllable, which makes you malnourished. So we have to defend our bodies. Very important. When you're trying to get some of this pollution out of your system and clear your lungs, it's very important to go out in the country at least once a week to get a hold of some unpolluted air, or close to unpolluted air as you possibly can. Just to spend the time out in the woods and breathing the air will help rejuvenate your system. It's very important that you walk barefoot on grass or sand. It helps ground your system and pulls out the radiation that accumulates in your foot when you step on a gas pedal, which throws the radioactivity in your body off. Remembering that the melanin is a highly electromagnetic chemical, and by stepping on the gas pedal, you accumulate a whole lot of negative radiation in your system, which throws your melanin electrical balance off. So to re-establish that balance, it's important that you walk barefooted on sand or on grass. And it's important that you wear cotton clothes, underwear, to allow your skin to breathe. These so-called jockey straps, they don't allow the testicles to go up and down, and they keep the sperm at the same temperature, instead of letting the sperm regulate its temperature and regulate its maturity and keep it in a cyclical balance. So it's important that we wear cotton. It's important that we breathe some good air. It's important that we take sunshine, looking at the sun, not at noontime, but before noon and in the evening, allowing it to come into your eyes, stimulate your pineal gland, which stimulates your pituitary gland down to your hypothalamus. The sunshine is very important in an African person's diet. It helps balance the system and give you the proper stimulation. So we have to have the sunshine. These are just basic things to do to defend your body against the pollution that we live in. I'm not getting into the social pollution or the spiritual pollution or those sort of things. I'm just trying to focus on some basic things that are necessities in our survival. So we are going to use some nutritional self-defense against these pollutions. We're going to know that we have to get them out of our system, flushing them out periodically, perhaps with garlic, with mullein to open up your lungs, with another herb called alfalfa, to help reestablish the vitamin K, the vitamin A, the vitamin B, the vitamin C, and some sarsaparilla and some sassafras, which is a good blood cleanser, to help flush these impurities out of the system. Because we're constantly under attack of pollutions in our pores, from the aluminum in the deodorant, which suppresses the toxins and keeps them in your body. By the way, all the allopathic medicine, which you call MD medicine or modern medicine, is called suppressive medicine. It's called suppressive therapy. And these medicines, be the aspirins or the medicines they put into the deodorants and the sprays, suppress the toxins in your body. So by using the aluminum and other chemicals that are found in the deodorant, the body's trying to get rid of the waste, and the suppressive therapy in the deodorant keeps the waste in the skin. The same thing goes for the creams that are put on the skin, that are used in the women's makeup. They suppress the toxins in the skin, keeping the poisons in the skin that the body's trying to push out of the skin. You see. The same thing happens with the hair relaxers. A child that wears a hair relaxer, say within the first 6 months, they're going to need glasses. Because the hair relaxers work by weakening the body. They break the keratin. They break the protein strength. And that's what causes the African's hair to become limp. And then you curl it to resemble the white people's hair. First you make it limp to resemble their hair. Then you curl it to copy them who are copying your curly hair. So eventually it goes into the bloodstream, is absorbed, gets into the blood, and affects the eyes, the protein bonds in the eyes. So eventually any child that's using these hair relaxers, which are sold by African companies to help suppress us here in America, the child's going to eventually need glasses. It's just been that way with those kind of poisons that are taken into the system as cosmetics, aside from deodorants, aside from the relaxers in the hair, aside from the creams we put on, aside from the deodorant soap, which has aluminum in it, which suppresses the toxins all over your body and stops them from coming out, inhibits the action of the glands within the body. This gets into your system and inhibits the action of the brain. All these chemicals that get in the blood have to go to the brain. Anything you do to your skin, you are doing to your brain. It's absorbed in the skin, gets in the bloodstream, and goes into the blood and goes to the brain. They may be minuscule or minor or very minor reactions, but they're reactions nonetheless, because the brain has to react to pollution. It's in the body, it cannot escape. So polluting the brain, so we have to do certain things in self-defense even of the brain today. Lecithin is a supplement that comes from soybeans. It turns into soap in the body and helps wash out the impurities. So lecithin, super lecithin, which is called phosphatidylcholine, helps flush the toxins out of the body. Choline is what gives seaweeds and kelp that fishy smell. Inositol and choline should be used together because they are complementary pairs. And they help flush out the impurities in the nervous system because they feed the nerve principally. We also have just simply, when you do breathe, deep breathing, because it stimulates all down into your lower lungs. So we want to deep breathe. Breathe in very slow and breathe out very slow. This helps rejuvenate the lungs and fully oxygenate the blood so you can get more strength. And this makes you feel better. So we want not only to breathe the country air, we want to deeply breathe the country air. These are kind of self-defense things to do against the pollution that we find in the water, as well as in the food, as well as in the air. It's a self-defense that is necessary in the so-called modern environment, which is basically poisoned. Okay. What's
going on? I don't believe this. What the hell?
Lord, what does the Doppler say?
The cone of silence.
Bill, Joe, it's over. The thing was stable, and then it's gone.
It's back building.
It's not through yet. You're right, it's back building. We got a jumper here.
Bouncer, it's back building. You gotta track it.
Yeah, Joe, we know data isn't complete. I think you guys should get out of there. You copy?
me!
Joe, we should leave.
No, no, no!
Forget
Help
the
me!
sensors.
Help me!
We gotta get out of here now. It's gonna jump.
Filter will see it if it drops. If it's anywhere near us,
It's not gonna drop anywhere near. It's gonna drop right on us. Ah.
No, go back!
Forget it, Joe. Forget it.
Go back! It's not too late! Go back!
Forget it. It's too late.
Help me! Help me!
What are you doing?
Help me!
Joe, the pack's wasted. It's over.
What is wrong with you? We can still do this!
Jesus Christ, listen to yourself. You're obsessed.
You've never seen what that thing can do, so don't talk to me about it. You've never seen it! You've never seen it miss this house and miss that house and come after you.
Christ, Joe, is that what you think it did?
I don't know.
Jesus, Joe, why can't you just forget
You
it?
don't understand, okay? You'll never know.
When's it gonna be enough, huh? How close do you have to get? Talk to me. Joe, things go wrong. You can't explain it. You can't predict it. Killing yourself won't bring your dad back. I'm sorry he died, but it was a long time ago.